The vast majority of Protestants in America believe in a doctrine which is commonly known as once saved, always saved. This belief states that once a man enters a saving relationship with God through faith in Christ, there is nothing he can do to lose that status. Justification is a one-way valve, and anyone who has it no longer need fear the possibility of damnation. However, the doctrine of once saved, always saved comes up against a critical test. If you can find one place in the New Testament where the inspired author warns his audience, an audience whom he regards as Christians in a state of justification, with the possibility of damnation, the doctrine would be falsified. Is there such a thing in the New Testament? There are dozens.
One example of this is the close of 1 Corinthians 9 and the first half of 1 Corinthians 10. In this section, Paul starts a breakaway topic about the need for perseverance. He does this with two analogies. We'll begin with the latter one. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, Paul compares the Christian life to the exodus of the Hebrews escaping Egypt. He notes that not all who began their wanderings through the desert eventually found their promised land. By analogy, not all who begin the Christian life will see it through to their promised land, namely heaven. Thus, hell is a real possibility. As Paul says, if you think you stand firm, be careful lest you fall. Paul's other analogy compares the Christian life to a race. Paul notes that athletes train hard because they know that not everyone who begins a race ends up with the wreath of victory at the end. He says Christians need to have similar rigor because we are running for an imperishable wreath. What is the imperishable wreath? If we look up the word imperishable, we see Paul uses it one other place to refer to the imperishable body raised in glory on the last day. Thus, the application of this analogy is that not everyone who begins the Christian life will see it through to the ultimate reward. Failure is a possibility. And lest anyone say this applies only to fake Christians or Christians in name only, Paul specifically says he applies these warnings to himself, striving to avoid the ironic possibility of bringing so many to their imperishable prize, but being disqualified from it himself. So unless you want to say that Paul had an insufficient grasp of the promises of Christ, you must admit, once saved, always saved is false.